Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ariel, and today we're going to be talking about, I believe, the unrealistic moral expectations that fans have put on BTS. This was sparked by the whole Chris Brown situation. I've already made an additional video about that, so if you want to see it and see it more explained, you can go up there and that will explain what the situation is about. But continuing on to a deeper conversation, which I think is actually bigger than BTS themselves, is I do think that people are putting moral expectations on BTS that they've never set or never expressed to set for themselves. Fans sometimes confuse BTS's actual beliefs with beliefs that the fans have assigned them. And first, I want to let you know I've been a fan of BTS for a very long time, since 2017. So I'm not new to BTS. I'm not new to the things that they have championed. I'm not new to anything about them, at least what was publicly shared. But just because I have known them in their public persona for many different years does not necessarily mean that I know them 100% completely. I know the version of BTS that is portrayed to me in the public light. I do not know how these people operate behind closed doors. I don't know what their day-to-day life is like. I do not know what they believe on every topic. I don't know them. And neither do you. Neither does the rest of the fandom. And the fandom has been in a tizzy because people keep saying this is not who I thought BTS were, and this isn't the group that I stand. And I think there needs to be a distinction. There is a big difference between what BTS has actually said they believed, what we think BTS believes, and what we expect BTS to believe. Because I think we are confusing what we expect BTS to believe to what actual standards they have set for themselves. And I just want to put it out there, fans can have moral standards. I'm not saying that just because an artist doesn't particularly come out and say they support this or don't support that, does not necessarily mean that you as a fan can't have your own moral standards. And if those moral standards are violated, you have every right 100% to no longer be a fan of someone. But in the situation regarding Chris Brown, Usher, and the concert, did BTS actually violate any of their beliefs? Or is it a belief the fans have assigned to them? To understand this situation, we do absolutely have to talk about parasocial relationships. And parasocial relationships aren't necessarily bad. They're actually pretty normal. And I think lately in the media and in the social media age and on TikTok and on these different places, parasocial has been used somewhat as a direct link to a fan who's obsessed. But that doesn't necessarily mean that being parasocial is a bad thing. It's actually pretty normal. When you have known a celebrity in the eye, and just an FYI, parasocial is a one-sided relationship. It is a relationship a fan has with a celebrity or a public figure. But it's normal. You have seen these people grow up from 15, 14 years old sometimes and have seen them throughout their whole careers. You've supported them for years. You bought the albums, you went to the concerts, you've seen the variety shows, you've seen the live streams, you supported the ad campaigns, etc. So it's actually pretty normal to have a parasocial relationship or develop a parasocial relationship when we are talking about a public figure. And I think in K-pop, it especially intense because K-pop encourages parasocial relationships. They want you to feel attached to the groups that you are standing or supporting. They want you to feel as though you are a part of the group. They give you the access to the members, the live streams, the behind the scenes content, the photos, the personal messages, the text messaging apps. They want you to feel as though you know the artist that you are supporting. In the Western industry, it's not as extreme. You're not getting that. Megan isn't texting her fans on some random app in the middle of the night with her deep thoughts about not being able to sleep. She's not doing that. Megan's not doing that. Megan will come out, she'll do her interviews, she'll release her content, her music videos and stuff like that. And then there's a period where she'll disappear for a little bit. You may not hear from her much at all. And then she'll come back out when she has something else to promote, whether it be a collaboration or even new music. But with K-pop idols, it's extremely different because you feel as a fan that you have 24 access to these people, especially on those messaging apps and DMing things where artists are able to respond to multiple different fans. And that encouragement can put a big attachment to the idol and the fan, and they want that. That is industry standard for K-pop. There, you can go to any K-pop idol group, anything like that, and you are going to find that and find that relationship there. But sometimes with these interactions, you can feel as though you understand the person 100%, but you don't. You're still only getting a percentage of that idol's life. You are not getting that real person. You're getting a minuscule glimpse into who these people are and how these people think. But feeling like you know someone and actually knowing someone are two different things. BTS knows ARMY collectively, but they don't know ARMY individually. And I think this is the situation with the Chris Brown and the Usher concert also is a bit complicated because BTS have supported things socially. They have come out and supported and campaigned different things, different charities. We're not going to sit up here and pretend that BTS have never done that. They have. And that's important. They have championed Love Thyself. They have championed anti-bullying campaigns. They have donated to Black Lives Matter. They have done significantly a lot of different things socially that is deemed good and that is deemed positive. And those things can establish an expectation for them to, I guess, be morally correct. The problem comes into place when fans automatically assume that just because BTS supports A, therefore they support B, and therefore they support C, and they would never be associated with someone who does D. No. And now we're 300,000 miles away from what they've actually said and what they've actually done. Are we holding BTS accountable for their words or the interpretation of their words? I also want to say that I believe that there is a BTS that fans have manufactured in their minds. Because I believe there is a BTS that exists within the fandom that doesn't actually exist. There is a version of BTS that is perfect. They have to know about every social issue, every social cause. They have to be educated on every world issue. They have to know about every boycott. They have to know about every celebrity they ever dealt with and what they've done in the past and in the future. They have to share fans' political beliefs and have the correct opinion on every controversy, and that all the members agree. But that version of BTS doesn't exist. That person doesn't exist. And because that person doesn't exist, when BTS eventually does something that is inconsistent with that image, it can feel like betrayal. But we need to ask ourselves, did BTS create this expectation or did the fans create this expectation? And I can already see the counter arguments going on in my comment section, but BTS have built their brands on these values they have expressed. And that is true. We're not going to dismiss that BTS has built their brand on socially conscious things and advocacy in the past. I'm not going to sit here and say that they haven't. And I think fans aren't wrong for wanting them to be consistent. And I think that if BTS directly contradicts anything that they have actually stood for in the past or in the future, then I think that criticism is warranted. I think it's accurate and you have every right to get on their ass. That's called accountability. But just because they believe something does not believe they believe something else. It doesn't automatically establish that bond. You should definitely hold someone accountable for the things that they have said. But that is completely different than holding someone accountable for what you assumed they stood for. Because that is the nuance here. That is what the nuance is in this situation. I think a lot of armies and a lot of fans have set up this expectation for BTS that they themselves have never set up for themselves. And so because they have never set that expectation up for themselves, are going to violate that expectation. And now fans feel as though they are betrayed. But the thing is, you cannot hold them accountable as if like it's betrayal. You don't need BTS to be hypocrites before you are allowed to disagree with them. You are allowed to have your own boundaries, morally and ethically. If a member does something that you find morally unacceptable, you have every right to no longer support them. You don't have to prove that BTS has contradicted themselves to no longer to support them about something that violates your values and your morals. But there's a big, big, big difference between this violates my values versus you betrayed our values. You have to ask yourself, where is this R coming from? When did BTS sign the contract to morally uphold whatever the expectations you state they need to uphold? Also, we need to understand that BTS are 7 grown adults. They don't have to always agree on everything that each other cares about. They may disagree on certain things. They may agree on some things. And I think the situation has dissolved into why isn't BTS responding when there were only 2 members who went to that concert out of the 7 that are in the group. One member's actions doesn't automatically establishes BTS's position. We don't even expect 7 fan members sitting around a table for Thanksgiving to all have the same political beliefs. So we need to stop treating BTS as if they are a monolith, that they are one brain cell, because they are individuals, 7 different individual men who have differences of opinions on probably many different things. I also want to talk about how that human beings are very inconsistent on how they apply their moral philosophies. Someone can care about worker rights and still order from Amazon. Someone can care about environmental changes and still puts gasoline in their car. And someone can care about women's rights and still consume entertainment by controversial men or controversial people. That doesn't mean the criticism isn't valid. It just means that people frequently behave inconsistently within their own values, including us. We need to stop expecting celebrities to be perfect because they are human beings and they are going to be just as inconsistent as we are when it comes to our morals and values and philosophies. Nobody is perfect. And I want to be very, very clear. Criticism and criticizing BTS is not the problem. Please, if they do something you see that you don't believe is within your values, please call it out. Please say, hey, I don't like this. That's fine. And if they do something you don't like, you're allowed to walk away from supporting them as a fan. You don't owe BTS unconditional support. And honestly, as a fan, that is where your power lies. But we need to understand that you become someone I can't support is not the same thing as you failed to be the person I imagined you are. You can have a meaningful connection with BTS and not pretend that it's a personal one. Being a fan is loving the music, watching the performances, cheering at the concerts, buying the albums, watching the live streams, And also, the music can resonate with you. It can have a meaning. It can help you through hard times. And that is fine and that is okay. That is what being a fan is. And that's what a fandom should be about, is enjoying the music and enjoying what it is for what it is. Enjoying the artists. But none of this means you personally know them. And you can disagree with them. You don't have to agree with your artist on everything 100%. You don't have to. And recognizing that disagreement doesn't diminish or mean that you as a fan is less meaningful. But BTS and other celebrities shouldn't be your moral compass. And this is where I think the issue becomes bigger than BTS. Celebrities are increasingly asked or expected to be these morally conscious people. Whenever a world event happens, whether it be a war, whether it be this or whether it be that, we expect celebrities to act. We expect them to donate. We expect them to make a statement. We expect them to do all these different things. But the problem is celebrities are just as human as we are. Maybe they're not educated enough on it. Maybe they don't want to talk about it publicly. Maybe they're doing things behind the scenes that they don't want to be known publicly. And something that's kind of uncomfortable, maybe they don't care. And that is very uncomfortable for a lot of people because they want to believe that their artist cares about everything and everyone. But the problem is, just as much as you and me doesn't care about every issue in the world, the artist just may not care enough. We need to stop holding these artists and these celebrities to these moral expectations that they can never achieve, because they're ultimately going to disappoint that unrealistic moral expectations, especially ones they've never set for themselves. And I want to bring everything back to a center point. We need to ask ourselves 3 questions in the situation. What has BTS actually said? What has BTS actually done? And what fans believe BTS should think? And they can overlap, but they're not the same thing. And whenever there's a big controversy out there and BTS has done something that violates someone's values, we need to really understand where this betrayal is coming from. And it may be coming from a place of it violating my values rather than it violating an expectation you set for BTS or whatever celebrity you care for. You need to criticize BTS for BTS, not for the imaginary version of BTS you've created. You can love their music, appreciate their messages, enjoy being an ARMY, disagree with them, criticize them. You can even stop supporting them. But ultimately, we do not know these 7 people, and that's okay. You don't need BTS to perfectly reflect your morality for the things that they've already given you to have meaning. So let me know, where do you guys think the line is to where holding an artist accountable and projecting your own beliefs onto them? Hi, my name is Ariel. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.